Who was Thomas Eckhart? The eventual leader of the Appalachian Enclave, Thomas Eckhart rose to the position of Secretary of Agriculture before the Great War. His nationalistic views caught the eye of the shadow government, now known as the Enclave, where he would join other powerful officials, corporations, and entities. Through ruthless authority and clever political maneuvering, he would eventually rise to the rank of President of the United States, or so he would claim. Eckhart's story begins the year of the Great War when he became Secretary of Agriculture. Using the Department of Agriculture's budget, Eckhart funneled funds into the creation of the White Spring Congressional Bunker. This suspicious spending didn't go unnoticed. Fortunately for Eckhart, Senator Samuel Blackwell was unable to blow the whistle on his unusual spending before the Great War began. The cabinet nuclear alarm system had been tampered with, and only a select few Enclave members managed to make it to safety. The president was safe on the oil rig, Control Station Enclave. The secretaries of the Treasury, the Interior, and Agriculture made it to the White Spring Congressional Bunker, while the Speaker of the House, Secretary of Defense, Attorney General, and Secretary of Commerce were mysteriously removed from the warning system and presumably died in the Great War. Anyone who wasn't a member of the Enclave who thought the bunker would be their safe haven were wrong, as non-members were rounded up and eliminated. The bunker's connection to Raven Rock and the Enclave oil rig were lost. Additionally, the Secretary of the Treasury succumbed to radiation poisoning. Eckhart seized the opportunity and declared himself the leader of their little enclave as per pre-war rules of succession. He offered everyone a choice: continue the war against communism or not. Those against Eckhart were sealed in a room where they would suffocate. His actions would leave him with 48 people under his command. He made his goal clear: eradicate communism with no moral or ethical constraints. He planned to use the area's nuclear network to fight back, but it required a general, launch codes, and DEFCON 1. His scouts found a few leads. 1. They discovered that a group of firemen, policemen, and doctors started organizing and that they have some strong candidates for recruitment. The only real problem was they likely wouldn't come willingly, and despite the Enclave's ability to reprogram people's desires, Eckhart recognized this was not the way to save democracy. 2. They discovered a Chinese robotics facility that was manufacturing small spider-like drones. The Enclave would take this under their control. 3. They secured the West Tech facility, where vats of FEV were stockpiled. And 4. They discovered that the automated presidential voting system was able to be reprogrammed. With few people spread thin across these 4 fronts, Thomas lucked out when Colonel Ellen Santiago and her soldiers arrived at the bunker from Washington, D.C., seeking shelter and revenge on China. The fresh faces reinvigorated the Enclave. Their research on mutation serums led to the accidental creation of Scorched Beasts. Eckhart would order the Scorched Beast testing to continue at abandoned atomic mining service locations, all while keeping his officers in the dark about these tests. Eckhart's men were able to reprogram the voting system and mobilized his supporters to vote him for president. When questioned by General Harper about why he needed the title of president, he simply said, "Those soldiers and statesmen only recognize 2 great authorities, God and the President of the United States, and I don't know of an automated system we can use to make God, so the latter will have to do." Pretty cool line, but also showed the first glimpse of Eckhart's true desire. Later, his only general, Harper, died of heart failure, so he sent out Colonel Santiago to obtain the rank of general at Camp McClintock. Santiago was hesitant and uneasy about the way she obtained her new stars. With the new general, Eckhart could finally start his grand plan. Unknowingly, this would also be the start of his downfall. With hopes of raising DEFCON status to 1, Eckhart unleashed the supermutants of West Tech and the liberators of the Chinese robotics facility onto Appalachia. To his disappointment, this hardly moved the DEFCON counter. General Santiago, realizing that revenge wasn't worth the destruction of American soil, confronted Eckhart. Feeling the early signs of defeat, Eckhart incapacitated her and kept her in an artificially induced coma until he was ready to launch the nukes under the supervision of the bunker's AI Modus. With no more opposition and a blind desire for nuclear supremacy, Eckhart released the Scorched Beasts onto Appalachia, successfully raising the DEFCON to 1, and unknowingly starting the Scorched Plague. Shocked by Eckhart's actions and thirst for revenge, some of the Enclave began a revolt, reviving Santiago, who would lead the uprising. After fighting through his troops, Santiago arrested the president. She then planned to destroy the bunker's AI Modus. Her attempt would fail as Modus initiated an explosion in the weapons lab, releasing a deadly chemical agent into the bunker's air system. Modus then sealed all the exits, dooming the Appalachian Enclave, including Thomas Eckhart. The Enclave and Modus would remain dormant until a certain someone breaches the facility's defenses after following the holotape in Sam Blackwell's bunker.